Well, Craig, you've asked me a lot about my story, but let's take a step back for a moment in case our listeners don't know about your history in real estate and all the huge accomplishments that you've had. Tell our listeners about it. Like, tell them why you were who you are, why you were the #1 RE/MAX agent in the world for so many freaking years.
Yeah, well, I only got into real estate because my father was a real estate agent. You know, if he was a plumber, maybe I'd be a plumber today. But honestly, I started off with no success and no confidence and no idea as to what I was going to do when I grew up. I mean, I went to college for a year. I went to university for a year. I dropped out of both. I worked at the local hospital. I made $14,000. This was in 1987. The only way I got that job is my father got me the job. I was living at home with my parents, and I made $14,000 that year. And my dad said, "Craig, you know, you got to go to school. You got to get a job. You got to do something with your life." And I said, "Okay, great, Dad. I'm going to get into real estate just like you." My dad was a little surprised by that. He actually discouraged me from getting into real estate because he's well aware of the failure rate. He knows I've never sold anything in my life. He knows that I don't know how to market anything. He knows I've got no confidence. He knows I've got no money. So he says, just don't do it. I did the opposite of what Dad told me to do. You know, got
like most kids.
Yep, got into real estate, like I'll show you. My dad was really supportive once I made that decision, and he did the best he could do. He told me what he knew. He'd been a realtor for 20 years at the time, and he says, "This is how you do it. You make cold calls. You do open houses. You
traditional stuff.
Yeah, you chase FSBOs.
Yeah.
You chase expired listed. This is how to sell real estate." And failure, like you, failure wasn't an option for me. I had to succeed. Here I am now, 26 years old, living in my parents' basement. I'm broke. I've got no confidence. I have to make this work. So I worked really, really hard, like you in that first year. I'm doing whatever it takes. I'm working 60, 70 hours a week, and it's not working. You know, it wasn't my lack of work or discipline. It's just I was not getting results, and I was getting frustrated, and I was like you, thinking there's got to be something else to do. I'm going to leave real estate.
So no sales background, no marketing background, no marketing degree, nothing like that. I mean, you went from sweeping floors to now like, okay, I'm gonna jump into real estate.
Yeah, I kind of failed my way into this, you know, really, like a lot of us, like you, like your story, right? You're working at Starbucks, and they said, "Hey, man, you got a really good personality. What are you working at Starbucks for? You should go into real estate," right? Yeah, it was really my father, seeing my father and what he was doing. I was thinking, that looks kind of interesting. I mean, everybody in real estate drives a nice car. You know, they've got nice clothes. How hard can this be, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So back then, it was like 6 weeks to get my license. So I get my license, I get in there, and it's hard. Dad was right. This is hard, and I think I've made a mistake, is what I'm thinking. So after the first year, massive failure, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I find myself looking in the classified ads, like I got to find a job. Only had a high school diploma, right?
Yep.
I got nowhere else to go. At that point, I realized I had to figure out how to make real estate work. So I attended a seminar in Los Angeles on direct response marketing.